Hey everyone, and welcome to the Kubeflow community meeting for the 15th and 16th of December 2021. We've got a few items today. Hopefully this won't actually take that long because most of it's just kind of reminders and other things. But kind of I'll list the main headlines, which is that reminder that distribution-owned docs, we're kind of planning to remove them from the kubeflow.org website. Most distributions, this is as simple as just pasting a new link, but for some it might mean moving things. If you own a distribution, please be aware of it. There's some updates on the release date. There's some PRs for the ACLs that are kind of being worked on, both for these two. And then there's a couple more PRs for the website, as there always is. I have an issue that someone needs to approve, but I think that one's actually been largely resolved, so I will get rid of that one. And we have something here from Josh, but I don't know what it is. And then we have the apparatus thing again. Let me just put that, accept that in. Okay, cool. So let's just, so I've already done the reminder there. So the quick reminder here, I guess, if anyone has any comments on this before we move on, is that kind of in the interests of applying the same rules to everyone, and as was agreed quite a while ago, we're trying to decouple distributions from the org itself. And as part of that, that means moving the docs that are owned by them off the website. If you want more information, please read the issue. Here is a list of all the distributions. I haven't actually updated this with ones that may or may not have moved already. But if you've got concerns or comments, or February 1st is not enough time, please comment on here, because at that date, we will just be deleting all docs that don't remain. Because we need to put a date. And we will put a link to your website if we can, like redirect link, but if you don't, well, we're going to assume you've abandoned the distribution. Cool. Anyone got any comments about that? If you have comments, please make them in the thread as well. Cool. Anyone, you can type in the chat as well, everyone. Now this one, I guess, Josh might want to give an update on, is just, so there was the proposed dates for the 1.5 release. This is at least my reading of what the final proposal was, and the release team wants to kind of finalize that on Friday, I think. So if you've got comments or these dates don't work for you, please make comments on that pull request here. Josh, do you want to make a comment on that?
Yeah, I think we've floated these dates around with folks for quite some time. There was some comments in the Kubeflow, in the K-Serve working group meeting, that they may want to push back the feature freeze by a week. But I think Vendette was going to check in, and we've also updated the issue asking the K-Serve working group if these dates are good as is. But I think maybe some of their folks are already on vacation. But if there are K-Serve people on the line or listening, if they could look at this issue and comment, it would be good.
Yeah, I agree that kind of January 13th is quite close to when a lot of people will be getting back. So it may mean that anything that hasn't happened already will not be added as in terms of features if we do that. So I agree that potentially even the Notebooks working group might benefit from a one more week there, and which we can potentially cut into the manifests time. But yeah, or do that concurrently. Anyway, cool. I'll make those comments on the thread. Anyone else got any comments they want to say publicly? Cool. Okay, so related to the release again, there is some PRs that are adding teams so that you can tag the release team on GitHub. The PRs are split up. I don't quite know why they're split up at the moment, but the newer one is this one. There was kind of I proposed this, so there was a couple of things happening, but in the interest of using the principle of least privilege, the release team shouldn't have any permissions gained by being part of it. Only the release manager actually needs super admin level access, so they get that. There was some discussion here about maybe the product manager doesn't actually need to have its own team there, and I think so we just need someone from Google to comment in on their philosophy here, because it is their org in some sense. So they're the one to approve it. So is any Googler on the line or someone who's able to approve this just willing to review this PR and just or end this proposal and say what you're happy with? Oh,
Can you tag me and Thea on this one?
yes. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm just gonna stop my Alexa. Alexa, stop. She started talking. The AI world we live in. Okay, so let me just tag it. And you, James, or is it someone else?
You can tag me, yeah.
Was it you asking? Sorry, I forgot who asked.
Yeah, it was me asking, yeah, sorry.
I'll just CC you there. Cool. So to be clear, we're not asking to merge this specific PR. We're just asking about this proposal here. And this comment on it as well. Anyway, cool. So that's something we need there. Now, anyone else from the release team here want to make a comment on that? Is Anna here? Nope. Okay. So I've got, I'm sorry to do this, but I went through the internal ACL's repo and realized it was really messy. So because when I was looking through this PR, so I did make a few PRs to kind of clean up this file and remove some security risks. So I'd love the Googlers to review this one as well, specifically this one, because at the very top of the file, it says like we should be doing this on the file, but we don't do that in a bunch of places. Notably, we add people as what are they called? As maintainers in the lists rather than members, when in reality, the thing maintaining the list is this file. So there's no reason for anyone to be a maintainer of any team, which it says at the very top of the file. So this PR fixes that for all of the things and also sorts the names alphabetically. Again, that's what's suggested at the top of the file. I know it's a bit of a crazy PR diff to look at, but I have made no changes. I've made no changes to any of the teams or anything like that. It's literally just the definition of the team and the giving consistent names to the teams, because there was also some pretty sporadic naming. So it's a pretty simple PR, I think, to review. And anyone, of course, remembering the fact that if you merge this, you do still have to run a script. But I'm pretty sure any of the super admins on the org can run that script. So I've assigned James, but if you have time, that'd be great.
Sure, I can take a look on that.
Because it will reduce sort of a security risk, I think, a little bit. Because people could add people outside of this file to members of orgs, to members of teams that give permission. Anyway, cool. Now, this is one that I really do want. This is even more important, actually, is that right now the leads of the notebook working group can't actually create branches on our repo. And it is kind of a problem because it means we can't actually manage our releases at all for any of the apps on the Kubeflow/Kubeflow repo. Every other working group leads have access to their repo, write access to their repo. It's very important that we get it as well. I understand that the Kubeflow repo is sensitive, but given that literally exclusively the Kubeflow notebooks working group apps live on it, I think it is reasonable that that this PR is merged, and it just gives Kubeflow right to the notebook working group leads. I'd love to hear your comments, James, or anyone else.
That I don't know. I might need to consult with Thea about that, because like all these components lives under Kubeflow. And then Kubeflow actually include more than just like these components. Is that right?
No, not anymore. Not anymore. So as of quite a while ago, the rest of every component that's in this repo is owned by the notebooks working group, and the other folders in this repo are related to those components. The only exception being the main README, but I mean, this is probably not a very important page, and these changelog and roadmap things. But this is more of a legacy situation because this was the only repo originally. At some point, it would be nice to consider where we host these components and whether they get their own repos at some point, which they probably should. But that is a lot more work. And also, right now, we're kind of almost blocked in like we can see we haven't even like we've got some stuff that we really need to do here, like proper branches for releases of each of these components. Right now, we've kind of got branches for each version of Kubeflow, but that doesn't necessarily make sense because, it's just proper release management. Anyway, the other option is that we make a bunch of repos, but in my experience, James, you can correct me, that's even harder.
Does Notebook own all those components, may I ask?
Yes. So if you look at the definition of well, you can look at it in multiple places. You can either look at it in the charter for the Notebook working group, or you can, which is here, or you can look at the fact that the owner files in each of these are all the Notebook working group links. But the community. Actually, I will show off something instead because there's an easier way to get to here, and everyone might want to be aware of this. So there's now a new about section under community. And if you go down to the bottom, you've got the working groups. And if you click on here, I've got them under the maintained components. But if you click notebooks, you can just go directly to the charter and you can read the charter about it. But you can see that it lists out the components here too.
I see. So currently the ask is to enable notebook group to release notebook version properly.
Yeah, to be able to tag
Kubeflow.
and branch. Yeah, which happens to be on the Kubeflow/Kubeflow repo. Again, if that's not acceptable, we're going to need to do a lot of work to move all the CI/CD and all of the things onto a different repo. And then it probably becomes a much bigger discussion of where should the delimiters be between those components, because there's like 8 of them, right? Or 9 or 10 of them. So some of them probably shouldn't be in the same repo as each other. Like some of them obviously should, like notebooks controller and notebook UI, but stuff like that is very core to Kubeflow, but is not notebooks, but is controlled by the notebooks working group, should probably live in their own repo, probably the Kubeflow repo, because it is the core piece of Kubeflow, like the central dashboard, like the KFAM API, like the profile controller, like see some, you know what I mean? So I think there is a case to potentially move some of them away, but some of them there isn't really a case to move away because they are just kind of Kubeflow, and they're the pieces that hold Kubeflow together. And for now, those are maintained by the notebook working group.
Sounds good. Let me go back and circle back and then ask around for this question, and then I can update you about like how do we fulfill the request.
Cool, awesome. Do you want me to tag you? Oh, you've already been tagged, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yes.
That one I'd appreciate at some point, like soon, just because it is kind of a big problem for the working group.
Yeah, I will try to get to it as soon as I can, but like right now it's almost close to the holiday season, so yes. Yeah, let's see.
And then there's one last ACL update that I'm proposing here, is that there was one of the teams was out of date, which is the web team, with people who haven't been involved in a very long time, and some of which who have been involved, but not as of now they are not. So I've proposed that it's just you, James, and Jan are made the maintain members of that team, even though technically speaking, you already have the permission, your admins on the org. It's just for the team itself, there's no reason to have these people have this permission, this right level access on the website. So this one should be a pretty simple just merge, I think, from your end, James.
Probably like this one is less priority than the other two that you mentioned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I would kind of like do it in order of priority.
I'll put that in order.
Thank you so much for doing all this cleanup and also update, keeping the internal ACL up to date. But I will do it in a sequence of priority.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for that. Now, has anyone else got any comments on internal ACLs they want to make, or things they want to request of people? Anyone got any blockers by the lack of permissions or concerns about security? Okay, cool. If not, there's 2 more PRs. I'm sorry to kind of be hogging this meeting a little bit here, but it's just kind of almost just running through the community general things that I just happen to be involved in most of them. So the this one's actually for the pipelines working group. I just wanted to put it here because I think it should be merged as soon as possible. You did approve this one already, James, but I was still just really not happy with how it was looking. It's a doc rewrite for how to connect the Kubeflow SDK pipelines SDK to a Kubeflow cluster. I think if you look through it again, you'll find that this is much, much easier to read now than what originally we proposed when you had approved it. It was like just very hard to read before, and now I've organized it, made the titles very short, and updated all the content, which was wrong, a lot of it actually. Not this file, but actually the other file was wrong. This one. Like how to use the REST API directly from the Python SDK rather than using it through the pipelines SDK, which was part of the docs, but it was just incorrect on here. Anyway, so that's something I'd love you to look at if you get the time, because I think it will help users like in a lot, because it helps with the biggest problem of Kubeflow pipelines, which is connecting it.
Of course, this is very important to make sure that it's easy to read. But again, like because I have to go through many PRs, so I would appreciate if you can order them by priority. So I
think from
review
your
the most
end,
important one first. Yeah.
I think for the community, this is the most important one. Like this right here, because this is the make or break whether people use Kubeflow to a large extent. If they try and use Kubeflow and they just can't get it connected, you know, they can make pipelines and they can't get the SDK connected, they're never going to use Kubeflow, right? That's just going to be a complete blocker. This is probably one of the areas where I see almost all issues asked about when I'm talking to both people who use Kubeflow and when I'm seeing people in the Slack. A lot of people are saying, you know, I don't know how to get this connected, or they just give up. Anyway, so that one's probably the most important there.
Sounds good.
And that one's, and it's pretty damn similar to what you already approved. It's just reordered to make it less crazy, because it was just crazy before.
Sounds good. Thank you for the summary.
Awesome. And then the last one, this is like, this one doesn't even need a review. This is literally just a one-line change. Well, actually, there's 3 lines. Okay, 3 files. But the main line that actually is important is this one. It's just, it doesn't really matter. So what this is this is a website change. It removes some files that are not valid or are just not needed anymore. 2 files, 3 files, in fact. And then it updates our robots text. And the reason I'm doing that is because on the Google, not your Google, but Google recommendations, it says you should specify your sitemap. I think they have found it, like the Google crawler has found our sitemap, but it's nice to be explicit about it to the crawler. And this should hopefully improve the speed at which our updates on the website are reflected in Google search. Anyway, so that one's another one. And then that's probably it for me. It's oh, okay. What's happening here? Okay, whose is this one? Short-term fix to publish roadmap. Is this?
That's me.
Is that related to this issue, or which issue is that?
Oh, it just got pushed when I added my item. That's it.
Okay. So is it this one?
No. Yeah.
Is it, wait, do you have a link for this one, Josh, or?
I thought I did, but I appear to have lost it. So here's just the quick update, right? I'd like to do a short-term fix to the published Kubeflow roadmap before the holiday that basically, if you bring up the current roadmap, here, I'll give you the link in the chat.
Oh, I've got it. It's on the screen right now. I can paste
all
it in
I'd
the
like to
chat.
do is show that that 1.4 was delivered in October, and then post that we have a 1.5 date, which is probably late February, and maybe post that we have a proposed set of cycle for the dates, and say more information to come probably after the holiday. So at least for the next month or so, while we're trying to get organized around the roadmap, I know we should have the roadmap better defined, but some of the working groups still haven't done their presentations yet. So I'd rather get this updated as a short-term fix with just a few little improvements and then improve it completely once we get all the complete information after the holiday. Does that make sense?
Yep. I've always wondered about where this thing should live. Right? Like, does it make, like, also this removing it from Kubeflow would potentially improve the problem we talked about before with giving the notebook working group access as well. Like if this lived on the Kubeflow/community repo, or was more likely just under maybe an overview page under the releases page on the website or something. I don't know exactly where, but potentially. God wants to see what a release looks like. That's what one looks like. But maybe it makes more sense. I don't know. I'm happy to do, I think we should update it like you've said, but I'm just wondering if the long-term location for this is here.
It's a good point. I think there's this patch that I'm talking about, and then, the after the holiday complete update. And I think that would be the time to move it if we're going to move it to another.
Oh yeah, we also have this really weird file, which probably should, well, yeah, I don't know. Again, maybe we can take some of this information that's sitting on the root of this repo and move it to the website, to be honest, because it probably is more accessible for most people there. Like, for example, there's this change log that hasn't been updated in 3 years, and it still talks about Kubeflow 0.5. So potentially what we could do is take this information and move it to like a legacy releases. Because I actually, this is, I guess, why I couldn't make one for 0.5, because I couldn't find the information. So I guess this is actually where it is. So potentially we could make a legacy releases or something and just put that, dump that information in here. And then, because I think the goal of making the Kubeflow repo less community stuff is on there, and so that the community stuff happens either on the community repo or the website. It kind of seems the sensible thing to me. Anyway,
I think there's a logic to that in this short-term proposal. I'll get it out. It's just, let's make a patch. Let's make it, let's show that we have a planned release for February. And at least if people come over the holiday or look around, they'll see it for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
I do wonder how many people are browsing this. Anyone with admin on the repo can check. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a very rare page and doesn't get a lot of traffic. I'd be interested to know, but that's the point. I don't know. So if someone was an admin, they could check.
It's probably, you're probably right. It's kind of hidden, but if you do a Google search and you go Kubeflow roadmap, I think it brings you to here.
I'm intrigued. I'm not doubting you. I'm just, yeah, of course. Yeah, okay. Google's pretty good at doing search. Cool. Awesome. That's a good idea, Josh. I'm happy to help review it or do whatever I can, help merge it or something. I don't care.
Okay.
Awesome.
I think it's going to be fairly simplistic. And I just, again, if I had everybody's information, I'd be willing to update it completely, but right now we don't. And I just think we should get it updated. Okay, that's it.
Awesome. And then, I'll put a link to that roadmap file. That's what I'll do. Roadmap for everyone. Cool. Is this, I'm confused what's going on here. There's kind of 2 things going on here. So do you want to just talk about your Paratus thing?
Yeah, I'm just here checking if is there anything else you need from me. I'm just waiting for an update. I guess Tia must be quite busy, so I just thought I'll drop by at the community meeting and follow up.
Yep. So I can't make a comment on that. I don't know. Let me just look at this issue.
Yeah, last time I think she said she may have an opportunity to update in a week's time. So I waited 2 weeks, and before the holidays, I thought I might check it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical that this will happen before the holidays, but and if it hasn't already happened, it seems unlikely. James or one of the Jameses might want to comment on this.
Yeah, the only thing I can do is to try to ping her on this, but yeah.
Is there any way that like items like this we can potentially get some type of feedback, or is there some process or SLA or expectation that we can set for folks that come in and do things like this?
Are you asking James?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Taya is the person, but
Well, kind of actually. I think the person is actually a group, and it's the project steering group, right? Technically, which I think the members right now are, one of them is there, but this group here, right now, it is Paul, who I have never seen, but okay, and Jan and Thea. So I feel like there is always this thing hanging over our head, which is that there was a plan to get rid of this group and replace it with an elected group. At some point, we need to do that. Whether that happens soon, who knows, but we should still plan to do it so that we don't have this backlog of things. But yeah, I mean,
okay, well, I guess I'm just looking for some feedback. I think, this has gone through the process. It's been open, and we should just make a decision on it. So
Okay.
folks can
Fine.
move on.
I think
I
this.
will-
Oh yeah, go you, James.
No, it's fine. I mean, for this issue, yeah, I'll try to reach out to Thea. Right now, Thea, I think, is like traveling right now. So might be a little bit hard to get hold of her, but yeah, let me see what I can do.
Thanks, James. I appreciate it.
There's one question I have for you guys as well, which is that we're having a lot of problems with Slack at the moment, in the sense that Slack is really not suited for what we're using it for. That is an open source community where you're not paying for it. So almost all the features we need are paid. We don't have any real serious pathway, and I don't think we should be paying for Slack. But a serious alternative that other projects have started using is Discord. And I'm wondering if your support thing supports Discord.
Well, we're working on it. And what we've heard as feedback from other communities is Discord is used solely for engagement, just for people to hang out and build relationships. And Slack is used for quick Q&A troubleshooting. And then they use something like Discourse, like how Kubernetes is using Discourse for the discuss.kubernetes to capture long-term, long-lived knowledge. It's similar to Stack Overflow. Yeah.
Oh no, I was meaning Discord.
No, I
which is
got it.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I thought you said discuss.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I said all three. So Discord
Oh.
is used mainly to hang out, build relationships, and have things going. Nothing majorly technical. Slack is used for quick troubleshooting, Q&A kind of stuff. Discuss, which is based on the Discourse platform, is where you store the long-lived Q&A, where you capture big questions back and forth because people can go back to it periodically. Stack Overflow is similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of spitballing here that I just think at some point, as the Slack grows, it's going to be unmanageable. It kind of already is. So like, and since Slack has, as far as I'm aware, if someone works at Slack and is listening, please, please reach out. But from my understanding is they don't do free open source Slacks.
Correct.
It's just
That's
not
correct.
a policy if they do. Makes sense. There's no money in it for them. And as a result, it's not a suitable platform for what we're using it for. We need more permissions than we have. Like we can't hide channels. We can't, have proper permissions or bots or anything like that working. So we probably do need to move off Slack. I know that it's annoying, but like we don't even have history right now on Slack. We lose history after 30 days, right? Like it's not very good. So I'm just thinking at some point we should try and move to Discord. And if that is the case, will we be able to use your tool? That's
Yeah,
kind of
we can support that. It's on the roadmap. It's bumping up in the priority because some of the communities are thinking about moving to Discord. Yeah.
cool. Awesome.
Matthew, like moving to Discord, I don't particularly like the move because like Discord is more focused on like building community of like gamers and others. So like if people don't have like professional accounts like they do on Slack, like people have gaming users name. So like, so what's your like Discord username? Is it your real name?
So that's changed. So Discord is trying to become what Slack is, but for free. So they've changed this very recently now, where you can require someone to enter their real name as they join a server, and it comes up with their real name rather than their gaming name. I agree, because Discord is used for gaming. You are correct. was used.
But like when I moved to Discord, like it's very different and weird than Slack. Slack is more like organized. Like in Discord, like DMs are like you can DM anybody and send friend requests, which
This
I
is a
don't
good
think
point. Yes.
has some disadvantages of its own. But like Slack is much more better, but it is restrictive, I think.
I think you are right. The only complex fact is that friends are external to servers on Discord, so it can be a little bit confusing about communicating outside of the server. And I know that some people are probably using the Slack to communicate directly, but again, they only have 30 days of history on that chat, right? And I don't think it's a huge thing to ask. I think it's something we should discuss as a community when we get the time, because as the Slack grows, it is going to become harder and harder to manage. Things like, we can't have an announcements channel which has a history of all the announcements. We can't have people can't easily choose to opt in or out of announcements. These sort of things are anyway, that's just thoughts. Thank you for pushing this so hard, the guys from Paratus.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that this is always a bit difficult to get things through that are kind of community.
No problem. Yeah, thanks.
Cool. So now, are these two different issues or this one issue, this Kubeflow U example?
It's not a issue. Like I need UI to like test examples. So like I created the KFP Spark example. Like there is link. Yes. So like I want to test it because when I tested locally, like sometimes it ran into an infinite loop. So like it's related to Spark. Like it created many Spark jobs. So like I wanted to test it on a like Kubeflow testing infrastructure. If it does complete or like does it run into an infinite loop. So like I need something like a UI to see whether like this testing repo used to earlier have a UI. So I also posted the link. It used Kubeflow auto deploy, but like now it's like outdated or not supported by GCP. So like it was for like testing examples, but now there is no option for like testing examples, like no uh testing for like the examples repo. Like
I think what you're saying is that we did move the entire org off the GCP testing suite a while ago, but I bet you because this repo was abandoned to some extent, it wasn't part of that move. So we'd need to move this to the to the Amazon hosted EKS testing infrastructure, which would have to ask the guys at Amazon to set that up. So that because I guess there is already tests in here. But it might be a bit of work to update it to 1.4. But yeah. I agree that we should have automatic tests on this repo. That makes sense. Are you going to help spearhead that, Vedant?
I don't know, but I can help.
Yeah, because is anyone from Amazon here in the chat? If not, then that seems like something that I forget who's actually in charge from the Amazon side right now. Do you know James? Any other Jameses? No.
I don't know if there's an in charge, but Siraj has joined the release team and he's been helping with some of these conversations.
Cool. It's just finding the right person to connect Verdant with to ask about getting testing set up on this repo, because yeah, I can't see any tests.
Not on the testing repo, but like the examples repo, which I'm maintainer of.
You're right. That is actually is this one. I was confusing this repo. Yeah. So there is testing on here, but it's very clear that there's no testing set up. I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I recommend reaching out to someone from Amazon, if you want to ping their name in the chat, Josh, and I'm sure Verdant can reach out to them either on Slack or on however else.
Yeah, Vidant, I think you're already connected, right, from the release team meeting?
Yeah, but like Suraj didn't respond. Like, so I asked him for like UI to a test example because like every example is like set up very differently, and like writing automated tests is very hard for like each and every example. So like some are of different cloud providers and platforms, so like they might not work. So like manually testing them is like the only option currently,
So
I think.
what do you need from the community? Sorry, Verdant?
Like a UI to test example. So like the
Well, if you
full,
want that, you're gonna have to build it, okay? So, or find someone who can build it for you. Or like, if you can find someone who's willing to build it with you, that's cool. But like, if it's something that you need, then you're gonna need to build it.
yeah.
If it doesn't already exist, because I think it probably something like it may already exist.
Earlier there was like Kubeflow auto deploy, so like you could just deploy Kubeflow with some clicks on GCP, but like
Oh, you're
now there
talking
is
about
no.
that. Okay, yeah, that's not a thing anymore. He's talking about this auto deploy thing that used to exist. It was like a website that some Google has set up, I think, to click deploy Kubeflow on GCP, but I think it's not supported anymore.
Yeah, so
What you probably need to do is, if you need to test your things, you should be either running it locally on your machine or spinning up your own cloud thing to do testing. Or if you want, and we can make somewhat automated tests, then we can use the infrastructure from Amazon, but we can't do it unless it's automated on the Amazon stuff. It would just be too risky.
yeah.
I'm speaking for Amazon here, but I just highly doubt they're going to let you run arbitrary code on their workers. Sorry.
No, like the link that I posted of the auto deploy, like there was earlier an option to like manually test examples, but like now there is no such in the doc I posted. Yeah, the testing one.
Hmm?
No, the testing repo link that I posted. The
Yeah, this repo is pretty
Qflow
out of date.
slash testing. Yeah, there was option like to manually deploy.
I mean, it's pretty easy to deploy a basic Kubeflow install now if you have a Kubernetes cluster.
No, the problem is that like for like I don't have a particularly powerful machine, so like also like testing specific cloud provider services is very hard, and also I don't have GPUs, powerful GPUs to like run some GPU related stuff. So like I couldn't do much of the testing locally. So like I need a UI like the option which was earlier available.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting question. I am skeptical that you will ever get someone hosting a Kubeflow for you for free in that way. I just don't think a company will take on that risk. So I'd say you need to find another solution, either get a more powerful computer or pay for some cloud things, or ask for Google or Amazon to donate some cloud credits so that you can do it. I'd say, or another option again is that you make the test automated and then run them on the same infrastructure that everyone else runs their tests on, which do run on the Amazon provided infrastructure. But again, since I understand that your UI stuff is important in this case, so the tests may not work if you don't have a UI. But I'd say your best bet probably then is to ask for credits, or we can maybe, this is something we probably should do, maybe have a pool of credits that are donated by the various cloud vendors who are involved in Kubeflow, and then we can use those for testing in ways that are not automated, because they can't be, they're just testing the user experience or other things. And I think that's actually a really good idea. And I think we may have stumbled on a really good idea here, but we would need to reach out to the vendors to ask them for that, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's also a good idea. So like, could you create an issue somewhere so like we could ping folks?
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation is if you want to make, I can write up a really basic thing, but I recommend we do it on the community repo. It's definitely an interesting question. It has to be, in the best interest and safe for everyone. But I think cloud credits are probably the most obvious way to do this. I don't know how to logistically get that done, but I think we can ask, no hurt in asking. Cool. Anyone else got anything else? I'll raise that quick question there for everyone once this meeting's over. Oh, someone's made a PR already? Cool. You've already made the PR, Josh. That was very quick. Awesome. Okay. Anyone else got anything else they want to add before we close the meeting?
So, Matthew, I had a question to ask you. So, like, you are a contributor in the LRI, right?
Okay, this is not really related, but sure. Is
Yeah,
this related
but
to the
so
community?
like
Should we end the
Kubeflow pipelines like support emissary executor, like which is an option to run Kubernetes runtime and KFT.
What are you asking?
So like, have you tried it with like the emissary executor, LRI? Yeah.
Well, Elira just compiles, is just like a wrapper around Kubeflow pipelines to some extent. So if Kubeflow pipelines support the emissary executor, and that's a question for James, I guess. What is the current support status for emissary on pipelines?
I think it's one of the options right now on Kubeflow pipelines.
It's definitely an option, but is it like, I remember there was a time where it wasn't fully supported.
Actually, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure what the status is.
Anyway,
but,
cool. I think it is. I think it's meant to be 1.8 is meant to be emissary by default, right? Pipelines.
I need to go check. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, the answer to that is that it's really a question for the pipelines community to ask what support they have, because it's not really related to Elira. Elira doesn't care what it's. Elira, for everyone who's wondering, is just an UI for Kubeflow pipelines, but it's open source. Cool. Anyone else got anything before we close? I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you all for coming. Sorry for talking at you. See you guys.